Namaskar, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to Global Scan. In the next half an hour, we track all the major international news and developments. The week saw rapid spread of the deadly coronavirus across the globe, infecting newer countries, creating new epicenter of disease spread. In other news, what lies ahead for Afghanistan as United States and Taliban sign peace deal after fighting for nearly 2 decades. Besides, Super Tuesday in the US brought some clarity as to who may be the Democrat challenger for President Donald Trump. All that and more. First, the headlines. World battles coronavirus epidemic. All governments step up fight against COVID-19. Mainland China reports rise in new confirmed cases of coronavirus. Italian government closes all colleges and universities until mid-March. As a precaution, passengers travelling or having visited Italy or Republic of Korea and desirous of entering India will need certificate of having tested negative for COVID-19. Former US Vice President Joe Biden scored stunning wins on Super Tuesday. US Democratic presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg drops out of the 2020 Democratic primary, endorses former Vice President Biden. US stocks fell sharply on Tuesday. Taliban militants resume attacks against Afghan security forces shortly after signing a peace deal with the United States. United Nations say more than 100,000 Afghan civilians killed in the crossfire since the conflict began. European Union and the UK begin negotiation on new post-Brexit partnership in Brussels. EU's Brexit negotiator says Britain and EU have very serious differences about their future relationship, but an agreement is still possible. And it's a victory for Congo against Ebola. Last patient being treated for Ebola discharged on Tuesday. Congo's dense tropical forests are considered a natural reservoir for the disease. Let's begin with our special focus on coronavirus outbreak. Now, coronavirus remains the most dominant global issue for many weeks now. As we speak, infection has spread to some 86 countries across the world. It is affecting individuals, families, institutions, and economies at large. In absence of a vaccine, the nations are racing against time to contain the further spread of the new virus. Quarantine of confirmed cases and individual hygiene appears to be the only defense against the outbreak as of now. Here's more.
Mainland China reported a rise in the new confirmed cases of coronavirus on 5th of March, reversing 3 straight days of declines because of a spike in new infections in Wuhan, the city at the center of the outbreak. The increase was driven by more cases in Wuhan, the provincial capital of Hubei, where the virus is believed to have emerged in a market late last year. Wuhan's new infections climbed to 131 from 114 a day earlier. Chinese President Xi Jinping's state visit to Japan has been postponed because both countries have agreed to prioritize the fight against the coronavirus outbreak. The Italian government has approved the closure from 4th of March until mid-March of all colleges and universities as a precaution against the spread of the coronavirus, which has already cost the lives of 107 people in the country. Italy has also ordered all major sporting events throughout the country, including top-flight Serie A soccer games, to be played without fans for 1 month in a bid to curb Europe's worst coronavirus outbreak. Israel has ordered travelers arriving from Germany, France, Spain, Austria and Switzerland to go into home quarantine over the coronavirus concerns. India's health minister said on the 4th of March that 16 Italians tested positive for coronavirus. In addition to visa restrictions already in place, passengers travelling from or having visited Italy or the Republic of Korea and desirous of entering India will need certificate of having tested negative for COVID-19 from the designated laboratories authorized by the health authorities of these countries. This will be enforced from 12 a.m. of 10th of March 2020 and is a temporary measure till cases of COVID-19 subside. California Governor Gavin Newsom on 4th of March declared a state of emergency over the coronavirus in the state, which now has 53 confirmed cases.
Number of cases in the state of California is 53, and as I noted I want to just acknowledge that with 53 tested cases positive, this is no longer isolated in just one part of our state. This is broadly shared as a burden and responsibility up and down the state. And I want to thank local leaders, including those that today, I think wisely and appropriately advanced a similar proclamation in the city and county of Los Angeles.
Argentina Health Minister Jean Gonzalez Garcia on the 3rd of March confirmed the South American country's first case of the fast-spreading new coronavirus. The patient, a 43-year-old man, arrived in Argentina on the 1st of March after a 2-week trip that included northern Italy. The first confirmed case of the coronavirus in South America was reported in Brazil on the 26th of February. Meanwhile, WHO has identified the virus.
We are learning more and more information about COVID-19 every day. I'd like to remind you all again that we're 8 weeks into this and we have serologic assays. But this is unprecedented to have a virus identified, a sequence shared a few days later, PCR assays to be ready a week or so later after that, and to have serologic assays in use 8 weeks into an outbreak. So we are waited with bated breath, as you are, for these serologic studies to be done. And it's a matter of weeks before we start to see some of these results. But we encourage not just China, but countries all over who are interested to know how much of their population is infected, is to start testing.
Senegal's health minister on the 2nd of March announced the first case of coronavirus in the country, the second case in sub-Saharan Africa after one was confirmed in Nigeria last week. The patient is a French man who lives in Senegal and came back from a skiing holiday in France on the 26th of February on an Air Senegal flight. Major concerts and events in the United Arab Emirates have been cancelled or postponed. Global shares and oil prices extended their rebound on mounting speculation. Policymakers around the world would move to ease the economic fallout from the coronavirus. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
We're talking about coronavirus. Let's now understand how expansive has been the outbreak of coronavirus across the world. 86 countries across the world, all continents have been affected, all habitated continents affected. Over 95,000 cases have been confirmed across the world. So that's the figure that stands given by the WHO. Also, over 3,200 deaths have been reported due to coronavirus. These figures are from across the world. These figures have been given by WHO as of 5th of March. Also, what is worrying is how new territories are being added. 5 new territories have been added who have confirmed cases of coronavirus. Which are those territories? We'll just take a look at that. Bosnia-Herzegovina, Gibraltar, Hungary, Slovenia, Palestinian territories are the new territories and countries that have been added with places where confirmed cases of coronavirus have been tracked. But still, the place where it started, China, has the highest number of cases and casualties. 80,565 confirmed cases in China as of today. Cases of deaths stand at over 3,000 in China itself. So still, it remains the major hub, as it were, of this disease. This is where it originated, and in Hubei province in particular. Also 706 confirmed. This is interesting. Beyond all countries and territories, over 700 confirmed cases of coronavirus are on a ship, on a cruise ship that is parked right outside of Japan in Japanese water. That's where 700 confirmed cases of coronavirus are situated. So when we say 86 countries across the world are affected and have confirmed cases of coronavirus, this is what it looks like. The red dots that you see on different countries represent confirmed cases of coronavirus. Now, what started from China, really the epicenter from where the disease originated, we see it spreading across different parts of Asia. But what is worrying now is the manner in which it's spreading in parts of Middle East, in Iran in particular. Also, Europe is catching up with the world as far as the spread of the deadly disease is concerned. Italy has come up as a new epicenter, as it were, of the disease in Europe and rest of the world. Other continents are also not untouched. Africa also has cases in Nigeria, Algeria. They've reported positive cases. Latin America is also has confirmed cases of coronavirus. So whether we talk about Chile, Argentina, or Brazil, they've all confirmed cases. United States has nearly 129 cases when we last look at the updates. So we see that none of the habited continents have escaped now from the coronavirus. 86 countries across the world, and these pointers are representing Europe. Also shows more densely pointed coronavirus data, also because they're smaller countries packed together, and around 40 of them have confirmed cases of coronavirus. So this is broadly the picture of what it looks like, the map that shows the number of countries with confirmed cases of coronavirus from across the world. No, what is worrying about the manner in which it's spreading, coronavirus is spreading, is that beyond China, newer epicenters of the disease have come up. South Korea, Iran and Italy are the new epicenters. This is where the disease is spreading faster, and from there to the neighboring countries and states as well. So we're going to take a look at what these countries are jostling with. South Korea first, 5,766 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed. 35 deaths have also been reported in South Korea. So that is the figure as it stands in South Korea. Going to the next plate, various facilities have been introduced, drive-through testing clinics, which just means that you can drive into the testing clinic. In about 10 minutes, the clinic will confirm whether you have the disease or not. Also extensive mapping of the confirmed cases. So if there's a person who's been confirmed with coronavirus, where did he go, who did he or she interact with, the people that he interacted with. So that sort of elaborate mapping is taking place in South Korea in order to make sure that the infection does not spread further. Let's now look at the status in Iran. 2,922 cases, confirmed cases of coronavirus have been reported. 92 deaths have been reported in Iran due to the disease. A lot of pressure also on the neighboring countries of Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iraq. 8% of the parliament in Iran is affected by coronavirus. Vice President, also a person in the health ministry, has been confirmed with the cases. Also, Iran government has said that the people should travel. Limited travel is what they should exercise. They should not travel across the cities in order to curb the spread of the disease. Also, they've spoken about reducing the use of paper banknotes. So the infection could not spread from people to people in the form through currency notes. So that's another measure that Iran has tried to introduce. So a lot of pressure, I was saying, on the neighboring countries of Iran as well due to the outbreak. We now come to Europe. In Italy, over 3,000 cases of confirmed coronavirus have been reported in Italy. 107 deaths have been reported in Italy, and the outbreak in Europe that we saw earlier, much of it has to do with the sort of epicenter that Italy has become. Particularly vulnerable are the elderly population. If we talk about Europe in particular, Italy has the highest significant section of the population, which is elderly senior citizens. They are particularly vulnerable due to the spread of coronavirus. So there, Italy is facing a unique challenge. Also, Europe so far has refused to shut the doors on Italy. The borders are still open, but that also makes the neighboring countries and regions vulnerable, because the intermixing of people, movement of people from and to Italy continues to take place. So that's what makes Europe particularly vulnerable, and we saw that in the map earlier. So these are some of the figures, important updates coming out from Italy. So 3 important epicenters have emerged. One is South Korea, 2 is Iran, and the 3rd is Italy. Those were some of the updates about the way coronavirus has spread across the globe. Let's now move on to news from the Americas. In the US, Joe Biden regained his status as the front-runner on Super Tuesday, winning 10 of the 14 states that voted to pick a Democratic presidential nominee. Biden's popularity among African-American community was visible as he won states across the South, including Texas, that is crucial to the race because of its high number of delegates. His main rival, Bernie Sanders, had wins in Colorado, Utah, and Vermont, the state he represents as a senator. He's also ahead in California when the updates last came in. California, remember, has the most delegates than any other state. Meanwhile, billionaire Michael Bloomberg was unable to clinch a single state victory before promptly dropping out of the race and endorsing Joe Biden. Here's what happened.
The search for a Democrat to challenge Republican President Donald Trump in the November 3rd election narrowed on Wednesday to a choice between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, who staged a comeback in Super Tuesday voting to become the undisputed standard-bearer of the party's moderate wing. The former vice president roared ahead in the overall tally of delegates who will choose a presidential nominee at the Democratic Convention in July.
Our campaign reflects the diversity of this party and this nation, and that's how it should be, because we need to bring everybody along, everybody. We want a nominee who will beat Donald Trump, but also keep Nancy Pelosi the Speaker of the House, win back the United States Senate, If that's what you want, join us. And if you want a nominee who's a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, a proud Democrat, an Obama-Biden Democrat.
His strong performance ended Sanders' status as the Democratic frontrunner and led former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg to drop out of the race. At a news conference in Burlington, Vermont on March 4, Bernie Sanders lashed out at a political establishment he said was set on destroying his campaign and attempted to draw a stark contrast between himself and Biden.
Of course I'm disappointed. I would like to win every state by a landslide. It's not going to happen. What we are trying to do is unprecedented. All right? We are talking about a political revolution. We are talking about bringing millions and millions of people today who have no voice, who have given up on the political process, who in many cases are working longer hours for lower wages, people who don't have any health care, people who have not traditionally been involved in the political process. You all know what politics has always been about in America. You got a candidate from the establishment going out to rich people's homes, raising all kinds of money, and then running for president. This is a different campaign.
U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg dropped out of the 2020 Democratic primaries and endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden on Wednesday. Bloomberg said on Twitter that he had entered the race 3 months ago to defeat Donald Trump. And he left it for the same reason, because defeating Trump starts with standing behind the candidate with the best shot. And now the person to him is Joe Biden.
I believe we need a leader who is ready to be commander-in-chief, not college debater-in-chief. So if you want someone who talks turkey and who has a record of accomplishment on all the big issues facing our country, and who has the resources to beat Trump, I'm your guy.
Biden was set to win 10 of the 14 states up for grabs on Tuesday, March 3, including delegate-rich Texas. The former vice president rode ahead in the overall tally of delegates, who will choose a presidential nominee at the Democratic Convention in July. The next contests on March 10 will be in Idaho, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, and Washington state. U.S. stocks fell sharply on Tuesday, with the Dow closing down more than 780 points despite the Federal Reserve's emergency interest rate cut. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 785.91 points. That's 2.94% to 25,917.41. The Standard & Poor's 500 index went down 86.86 points, or 2.81% to 3,003.37. The Nasdaq Composite Index fell 286.07 points, or 2.99% to 8,684.09. All of the 11 primary Standard & Poor's 500 sectors closed lower, with technology down 3.79%, representing the worst performing group. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
Let's now look at news from Asia. Taliban militants resumed attacks against Afghan security forces on Tuesday night. This was shortly after signing a peace deal with the United States that includes a reduction of violence and withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, government officials said on Wednesday that the Taliban have killed at least 20 soldiers and policemen in a string of overnight attacks. The militant group announced on Monday that attacks would resume on Afghan security forces just a couple of days after the peace deal. The statement has provoked anger on the streets of Kabul.
The Taliban must make peace with the Afghan people. Why are they killing our youth? Why?
According to United Nations, more than 100,000 Afghan civilians have been killed in the crossfire since the conflict began, so people in Kabul know fully well they are the ones most at risk as fighting again escalates between Taliban and the security forces.
I hope for a long-lasting peace in the country. I hope it won't be like the previous truce because I was shot at that time. Why don't the Taliban sit with Muslims, elders, and tell them that they want peace? We are the sons of this country. They are the sons of this country. They should explain their will, that they want peace.
Before they talk again to the Afghan government, the Taliban want 5,000 of their members released from jail, a provision in the US-Taliban agreement and a dialogue precondition rejected by Afghanistan's president on Monday. US also appears to accept there will be more bloodshed before a final peace deal is reached. Taliban insists they are not breaking the agreement signed in Doha, as US-led coalition forces will not be targeted. Now we move to news from Europe. Britain and the European Union have very serious differences about their future relationship, but an agreement is still possible. The EU's Brexit negotiator said on Thursday, after first round of talks following the divorce, dozens of EU and UK officials have been discussing the post-Brexit relationship in Brussels this week after more than 3 years of torturous divorce talks that culminated in Britain leaving the bloc on January 31st after nearly 50 years of membership. Barnier said Britain's refusal to heed EU demands for robust provisions on fair competition, while another point of friction is Britain's desire for a separate deal on fisheries that would be renewed every year, something Barnier said was impractical and failed to provide certainty to industry and its workers. Barnier said Britain was seeking a series of separate deals while the EU wanted one overarching agreement on the future ties. The former French foreign minister and fisheries minister said he still believed that we can reach a good agreement for both sides. The two sides aim to seal an agreement before the end of the year, when the current transition period, when Britain remains bound by EU laws and regulation, is due to expire. Moving on to Africa now. The Democratic Republic of Congo has now gone 2 weeks without reporting a single new case of Ebola, the World Health Organization informed on March 3rd, signaling that outbreak of the deadly hemorrhagic fever is now coming to an end. His comments came as the last patient being treated for Ebola was discharged on Tuesday. The current outbreak, Congo's 10th since 1976, came immediately after another smaller outbreak that was ended in other parts of the country in 2018. Congo's dense tropical forests are considered a natural reservoir for the disease. And now, a roundup of all the other important developments from across the globe in Speed News.
In Uruguay, Luis Alberto Lacalle of the National Party took oath as the president for the 2020-2025 period, becoming the 42nd president elected by citizens of the South American country. The heads of state of Brazil, Chile and Spain and representatives of international and regional organizations attended the inauguration ceremony, at which the new president and the outgoing president, Tabaré Vazquez, carried out the transfer of power. Lacalle also appointed new cabinet members. Ahead of the general elections in Sri Lanka next month, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa dissolved the parliament on Monday, exercising his right to dissolve parliament any time after completing 4.5 years of a 5-year term. Sri Lanka's Election Commission announced a general election on the 25th of April and said that the new parliament will meet on the 14th of May. Libya's eastern government of Khalifa Haftar, which is opposed to the UN-backed government in Tripoli, reopened an embassy in the Syrian capital, Damascus. It was also the first diplomatic representation of Libya in Damascus since 2012. The reopening ceremony was attended by a visiting Libyan delegation representing Haftar's government and Syria's Deputy Foreign Minister, Faisal Mekdad. Greece decided to increase the level of deterrence at its borders to the maximum by sending army and police reinforcements to its border with Turkey. As the country faces an influx of refugees and migrants, the Government Council for National Security said that it will not be accepting any new asylum applications by people entering the country illegally for 1 month. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voiced support for Greece's efforts to safeguard its borders. Over 2,000 people were killed while several others were injured after a string of tornadoes ripped through Tennessee's Nashville, which reduced around 48 buildings to rubble. The National Weather Service said 8 tornadoes were believed to have touched down in Missouri, Tennessee and Kentucky, but the number could change following further analysis. In Brazil, incessant rain and flooding killed over a dozen in Sao Paulo. The deceased included a firefighter, according to the Civil Defense of the state of Sao Paulo. One of the most active volcanoes in Indonesia, Mount Merapi, erupted, spewing a column of thick ash by up to 6 kilometers height. Authorities prohibited local residents from having activities in the radius of 3 kilometers from the crater. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
Let's now go back in time and see the world from the prism of history in History Scan.
On the 2nd of March in 1972, Pioneer 10, the world's first outer planetary probe, was launched from Florida's Cape Canaveral on a mission to Jupiter. In December 1973, after successfully negotiating the asteroid belt and a distance of 620 million miles, Pioneer 10 reached Jupiter and sent back to Earth the first close-up images of the spectacular gas giant. On the 3rd of March 1931, the Star-Spangled Banner officially became the national anthem of the USA. President Herbert Hoover signed a congressional act making it the national anthem. The lyrics were written by Francis Scott Key in 1814. It was on the 4th of March in 1789 that the first session of the US Congress was held in New York City as the US Constitution took effect. However, of the 22 senators and 59 representatives, only 9 senators and 13 representatives showed up to begin negotiations for its amendment. On the 6th of March, the Madrid Football Club, popularly known as Real Madrid, was founded in 1902. The club became one of the most successful European football franchises of the 20th century. An invention that reshaped the world. On the 7th of March in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell received a patent for his revolutionary new invention, the telephone. On the 10th of March 1876, Bell used an instrument in Boston to call Thomas Watson, who was in another room but out of earshot. He said, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you," and Watson soon appeared at his side. And on the 8th of March in 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members, vanished in thin air. The flight lost contact with air traffic control less than an hour after taking off from Kuala Lumpur and disappeared. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
It's time for Showbiz, where we get together all the buzz from the world of art and entertainment.
The year 2019 has been an amazing one for singer-songwriter Taylor Swift. The American singer has been named Best-Selling Recording Artist of 2019 by the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry. With releases like The Man and Lover in her kitty, the singer swept away the title for the third time this time. While she topped the list, Ed Sheeran came second, followed by Post Malone in third. The year's Grammy holder Billie Eilish came fourth in the list. 30 years after the release of the 1990 hit movie Pretty Woman, a musical retelling of the love story landed in London's West End. A red carpet premiere was held at the Piccadilly Theatre ahead of the press night for the show. Pop star Bryan Adams and Jim Rollins co-wrote the original music and lyrics for the production, which was directed and choreographed by Jerry Michelle. 30 years ago, Hollywood stars Julia Roberts and Richard Gere famously portrayed Vivian and Edward in Pretty Woman, directed by Gary Marshall.
Dad, you are in your house! Oh boy!
After making movies about toys, fish, robots and cars, Pixar Studios is venturing into worlds of Dungeons and Dragons with its latest release, Onward. The film tells the story of two elf brothers, Ian and Barley Lightfoot, played by Tom Holland and Chris Pratt respectively. The brothers set out on an adventurous mystical journey to bring back their father to life for Ian's birthday. This is Pixar Studios' first crusade into the dragon world. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
And we've come to the end of the show. Works by Georgian painter Nico Pirosmani have come to life. An exhibition of Holosium in Georgia has been brought to life using 120 projectors projecting animated replicas of his paintings. The first of its kind exhibition also includes paintings by Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh and Norway's Edvard Munch. Enjoy the masterpieces on your screen. Goodbye for now.